Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters Net podcast. I'm your host Brian, and joining me today are two very special guests, Trent Dutcher and Mike Fiato. How you doing, brothers?
We're doing good.
Very well, thank you.
That's good. And these guys are part of the rock band Destroy the Planet. I do have to ask, where'd you guys go with the name too? Because normally it's like a metal sort of thing. They would say like destroy everything or something like that.
You know, it was more like the just thinking back to like the 50s sci-fi and horror movies, that's just kind of how I envisioned it. That's kind of what I'm into as well. So, and that's where a lot of the music comes from. So it's like imagining like those 50s drive-in B movie type of things, and like you'd see something like that, Destroy the Planet or something like that. So that's where it came up with, came from.
Actually, the way I was looking at the album cover too was like one of those Gundams. I used to watch Gundam way back in the day too. I guess were you real big into it as well?
No, just kind of sci-fi in general, so but it's funny you said that because I searched out for an artist for that. Like that is original art. So we found this guy who's from Bulgaria. I keep mixing that up. He's either from Belgium or Bulgaria. I'm so sorry. But he designs a lot of robots and things for video games. So, and he does a lot of that Gundam, and Robotech style. And so I kind of sought him out because I thought his stuff looks, a good mixture of realism and comic too. So, hopefully he can do our next one too.
That's so badass. All right. That's pretty cool. And I need to give a shout out to Frank Dutcher, I guess. Is there a relation?
No, I don't know who that is.
He's actually a drummer. He's out of Ohio too. I interviewed him a while back. So.
Oh, right on. Maybe somewhere in the, somewhere,
some distant cousin or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That'd be something. All right. But shout out to Frank nonetheless too. So that's all good. So, guys, I want to welcome you all to the podcast right here. I guess we're just gonna get to know you guys more about the musicians, but also as the individual too. So I got the questions right here. You ready to roll?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So I guess whoever wants to go first, but let's start with who are you guys? And I guess how did you guys start off with being musicians? Then we'll get into the band right after that.
Go first.
So I started off in my teens, just playing bass and trying to become as proficient as possible. And that was back in New York. I was born and raised in New York. And then life went on. I wound up married, and I wound up out here in the Twin Cities area. And I've always just played over the years and tried to stay busy. And I've known Trent for some years now. And when he came up with this project, it was something that we both felt would be a good fit. And it so far has turned out to be that.
Yeah, I started music pretty young. I started with piano lessons, and then I got into guitar a little bit. Played drums all through school. That's really the only thing I ever took real lessons for. But I never enjoyed it. But I just kept with guitar. Been in multiple bands. Mostly as a guitar player. I don't usually venture out to sing. It's just coming up with this band, it was just hard to find somebody that would sing what we're looking for. I mean, we didn't really audition anybody, but we looked around to see who was out there, and we're just looking for somebody who can deliver the message with the right way, and it just didn't work out. So we just kept it as a three-piece, and that's where we are. So I've been playing for, I guess back to your original question, is I've been playing for several decades now, and not getting any better. I peaked at like the age 17, I think.
He was already shredded like Dave Mustaine at age 17. That sort of thing.
Not that at all.
Are you kidding? I was watching some of your videos last night, dude. You were shredding. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
That's all cool. But I guess who's your drummer too? Because
Oh yeah, Albert Bourne is our drummer. You know what? I'll just go on record. We'll go on record saying he is the absolute. He might be top 5 drummer in the United States, but he's definitely the best drummer in Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? Like he is a phenomenal drummer. just intelligent guy and great musician, great friend. I've known him for a long time, and yeah, he brings a different set of skills to this band. He is a perfectionist, total
Extraordinary.
yeah, he's what people come to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, he was killing it too. And I would say, like, who does all the recording for you guys? I guess in terms of music videos and then also with the music too, because I have to admit, it was crisp.
So the with the music for the music we recorded with Todd Fitzgerald at Winterland. If you're not familiar with Todd Fitzgerald's work, he does most of the metal bands in the kind of in the Midwest, I would say. He's very well known producer. Again, he's super articulate. He's very detail oriented. Hopefully we can go with him at the next record as well. Like we're pretty happy with the results. It's a little tough for an unsigned band to have perfect quality, radio quality music. And he just nailed it, and that was just it was great for us. And he worked with us in many ways just to get us to where we were on the record. So it's that's where we got that. And then the videos, we have 4 music videos. The first one we actually hired somebody to make, really good guy. His name is Nate, for Tridon Studios, and he did a great job. But when we wanted to make more, it just became an issue with scheduling, and so we tried to go with somebody else, and blah blah. So we actually just took the law into our own hands, and we bought a camera, and the next 3 videos we actually made ourselves. So the Reach video and the Crawl video and the Worst video we made actually on our own, and I'm very happy with how those turned out, especially for first time videographers. We're I think they're pretty special looking, and I think they're unique, and they catch the vibe of the band. We're going for that like sci-fi horror kind of angle. I mean, our music's very hard rock, very radio rock, with a mix of metal and punk, but there's some goth in there, and it really kind of fits the look, I think, to have the more B-movie look to our videos.
The technology's available now to allow these things. So it's pretty cool.
We had to get good at it quick too. Like that was like we said I think we said in like September of last year that we would have a video out for everybody, and then we didn't get it out until like January because we just couldn't find anybody to do it, and had to find our own, not only buy the equipment but learn how to use it, and that was a trial and error, and we got there.
I did watch the Crawl video last night. I would say that's actually my favorite song I heard from you guys. And I was just watching that little bug crawling up her arm right there too. I figured, like, was that a stink bug or something? So
that was a cricket, and I'll tell you, you can call it a stink bug because those things reeked. They were just terrible. But that is also my favorite video. We found a young actress who was willing to do this, and she was a total pro. I'll just mention one scene, that scene where it crawls on her face. A bunch of people said you should have edited that better because you see her kind of smirk. You can't kind of see her wince. And I was like, that's what makes it, that's what proves that we didn't just, embed that in there. Like there's not CGI. We didn't just superimpose a bug in there. It's really on her face. And she really didn't like it. So it was, that was a very fun video to make. And like I tell everybody with this one, the motel that we did this at, didn't really like what we did, and then we didn't get our deposit back. So, but it was worth it for the epic video that will last forever.
Oh, the big bunch of jerks, that sort of thing. I had to say, she had a brass pair for keeping it on there. I would have been freaking out, to be honest, just having the thing crawl on my arm.
She was a good sport.
She was a champ.
That's pretty cool. And I guess let's go ahead and jump into the band a little bit. So I guess, how'd you guys do the whole auditioning process when you first started to say, like, let's be a band, that sort of thing?
Oh, we didn't actually audition, any of us. This is originally was I've been going way back to the start of this, which is, I say way back, I mean, it's like 3 years ago, but I had a friend who was going to record us at his studio, and again, timing and things like that just didn't work out. But I actually recorded half the record there. But then we never obtained that material back. I'd like to get that back. It'd be nice to hear how that went. But so I just asked Al if he'd play drums on it. It was really just to make a record. It wasn't really to make a band. And then as we got closer and closer to going to a studio and putting the drums in, and we were like, we need a bass player. So we called up Mike, and he was in. And then things kind of just, I don't want to say took off. I mean, we're not really where we want to be yet, but things did take off for us where, people started following what we were doing. We were posting videos, just little videos of us in the recording studio, just putting down little bit parts, little 20-second videos here and there. And next thing you know, you have, 800, 900 followers, and people are just watching what you're doing and everything you're doing. So then we decided to be an actual band and start to play shows so it's starting to take off. We're in the past 3 months, things have really changed. We started playing way more shows. We're getting asked to play shows instead of us asking to play shows. And but I would say that probably the defining moment for us when we became a band, it was like, we already had, we recorded an album, we shot a video, but then we booked our first show. So it's been 2 years ago. We booked our first show, and when we played, we were actually playing our song "The Worst." It's our ballad, and there's a part where it gets quiet, and it's just vocals and guitar. And there was 170 people in the audience, which, that's not a huge show, but it's huge for your first show. And people were singing the words. So they were singing for words of a song that came out the Tuesday before. And, from an album that came out we didn't release the video until last April, so a year and a half later. But anyway, so that's the feeling. Like when that happened, I was like, okay, we're a band. This is a band. Like, we got to put some energy and time and effort into this, and this is something that we need to, if these people can latch on to a song and drive to a show and sing along, then we need to, because that's what fuels you as a musician, right? That's as a creator. So that's when I was like, okay, this is something big. We should keep this going.
That's so killer too, especially when the crowd starts like singing all the lyrics. That's pretty freaky how they were able to like memorize it all with like in just a week's time before like your show all kicked off and everything too. I do have to ask though, I guess, do you guys just stick in and around St. Paul, Minneapolis, or do you try to go in around Minnesota or nationwide?
Oh, wow. We were just talking about that this morning. So we're actually planning, we're trying to get on some festivals this summer in other states. We have no problems traveling. Not at all. Like no, we're not stationary. We'll go to where people want to hear what we want to do,
Be like the winter birds go south for the winter.
Yeah.
I guess how bad do the winters get in Minnesota?
That's a better question for Mike, I think, because I'm completely used to it.
Right. Yeah, I grew up with a lot of snow in upstate New York, but it's a little colder here. January and February are a little bit more challenging temperature-wise. But I've been here for 16, 17 years now, so I'm pretty used to it. They can be challenging, but you get some armor over the years, and you're able to get through it. So I'm not dreading this one probably as much as I dreaded others. You just get used to
it. I grew up like right on the Canadian border, so I have, he mentions armor. Like I seem to be able to have a tolerance a little bit like 10 degrees cooler than most people, but it definitely works. It works the opposite when it's warm. At 80, I'm just dying. Like I run hot. So, but winter's here. I'm used to it. I like it. I would never move. I've had opportunities to move to warmer climates. I would never do it.
Not even at an older age. Seems a lot of people like to go south into like Georgia or Florida whenever they reach their retirement age.
No, I like it. I like it here. I would not. Like I said, this is where I belong.
But so you could be the one guy who's wearing the shorts in like negative degree weathers, just walking out there too. I remember at college too, I see like a guy wearing like shorts, and it's like freezing cold outside. I think like How are you doing that? To be honest, that sort of thing. I don't know. It's strange at times too, but that's all good to hear. So, and hopefully you can come to Pittsburgh one of these days. That's where I hail from too. So it'd be nice to see you guys.
Nice.
So I guess, what do you love most about music? Because I don't know. Did you guys grow up with in music families? Your parents do anything special in music?
No, not really. And to your question, what do you like the most? You know, that moment of kind of spontaneous creativity when you come up with something, when you're playing and you're experimenting and you finally hit something that works. That's very personally rewarding, and especially when you can, you know, get it down on tape and get it into a recording that's going to last forever. That's very gratifying. So that kind of pumps me up about music.
Yeah, I just, it can make you feel different, I have my certain songs I listen to for certain things I need to do, I just like, they just can change your mood. They can change your day, so I guess I just feel it more. And then as far as my, family's background music, I did come from a musical family. Everybody in my family played an instrument except for my one sister. She tried like 4 different instruments and just didn't pan out. But yeah, music was kind of all around. And I'll tell a quick story. So my brother is 8, 9 years older than me now, and so he's always been that way. He didn't change. But anyway, so my brother's quite a bit older than me, and when he got into middle school, he was able to, was asked to pick his instrument. So like, they give him a sheet with all the instruments he can pick to play in the orchestra in school, and he brought it home and he was picking out which one. And I was like 5 years old, and I said, can I pick out something? And my mom's like, you sure can. I mean, you're not getting it, but you can pick away, And I was like, guitar's not on here. And my brother said, guitar's lame. Everybody in the world has a guitar in their closet that they thought they could play, and they gave it up 2 weeks later. And he goes, listen, 30 years from now, you're not going to be playing that guitar, but I'll still be playing this trumpet. And so I like that story. My brother plays, but he has a guitar now, so he hasn't played his trumpet ever. So that's my story about my musical family.
You know what? When I was in elementary school, I wanted to play the trumpet, but I was told, and I think this was a lie, I didn't have the lips for it.
Oh, man.
I got stuck with the tuba, and I had to haul the tuba back and forth, and I realized, no, I'm not going to do this. So it was my one foray into band, and it was about a 3-week deal, and I bagged it. And I didn't pick up bass until some years later.
Have you sent them pictures of your lips since then? To see, like, hey man, look, these are trumpet lips now.
I don't get it.
I was say, Tommy, I was say, Mike, are you a good kisser? That's the thing. Actually, yeah. It was I do remember it was actually at summer camp where we had to like blow into the thingamajig. You had to use to blow into the trumpet. You had like press your lips and like that sort of thing too. I just couldn't do it. I mean, it was just weird too. Yeah, they talk about how it like holds the saliva and everything.
To be shamed like that as a child, it scarred me forever.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be pigeonholed, like put in a box you can't get out of.
Yeah, sort of thing. Okay, that's all good. But it's funny what you mentioned about.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say it's funny what you mentioned about the guitar player too. Because do you guys know the satire show called South Park?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
There was one they did with like Rock Band 2, and like Carpet just says like real guitars are for old people. So like, it was funny when we were talking about that story there, Trent, because I was thinking like that's pretty much what South Park was actually talking about too. So that's all cool. So I guess do you rub it in your brother's face to be like, I'm still playing guitar, bitch? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd like to tell the companion story real quick for that. So later on, in our house, I'm the youngest. My mom did the Santa Claus thing way too long. Like I was I'm kind of dating myself, but it was 5th or 6th grade. But in the Christmas morning, in our stockings, we all got cassettes. I'm really dating myself with this story. But so I got cassettes, and I was so just because Metallica's "And Justice for All" just came out. That was probably 5th grade. So I got it for Christmas, and it was in my stocking, and I was so, I couldn't have been happier, right? I wanted it, and it was there. And my brother got Steve Winwood's Roll With It. And my brother said, like, Metallica is just garbage music. And he goes, 30 years from now, nobody is going to know who Metallica is, and people will still be listening to Steve Winwood. And anyway, so to follow up the story is that my brother went to Metallica when they came through town here 3 years ago. So anyway, he's a bad predictor is what I'm getting at. My brother just can't predict the future very well.
Well, it's a good thing it didn't end up on Wall Street. That's a good thing then. Yeah. All right, that's all good. And I guess it's a good thing to be wrong at times. So it's a good thing it was wrong about you, Trent, because you guys making some killer music. So that's all good. But I guess let's talk about the gear you guys use. So I guess, Trent, if you want to go first, talk about your guitar, and you want to talk about the mic, and then Mike, you can go ahead next.
Yeah, I usually play, Gibson Les Pauls. I prefer like a Les Paul Standard. Actually, I prefer with like the 490 and the 498 pickups. Like, there's really the plain Jane, because that was what my first real guitar. That's what I had, so that's what I lean towards. I have multiples, but sometimes I'll play a Paul Reed Smith. I have a couple Tellys, so I have a lot of guitars, but it's mostly that sound, that I don't really try to go for different sounds other than the Telly. Sometimes I'll use that, but for my amp, I just switched amps about a year ago, and I couldn't be more happy. I have an Angle Artist 100. I love it. That's just the smartest amp ever made. It just does what I want. It has a built-in noise gate just for the lead channel. I've always kind of had noisy amps, and in past bands where I'm not the lead singer, that wasn't a problem. I can just switch to my clean channel in between songs on stage, but when you're the lead singer, you just don't want to be messing around with that stuff. So found myself the amp that I really love. However, on the record, I use my Marshall. I've had that for a long time, and that's like, it's noisy, but I like it. But for on stage, you'll see us using the Angle. On the next record, who knows? But as far as microphones, on stage, I use a Sennheiser E935. I just like it because my voice, I don't get super high. I don't have a lot of range, but I do sing pretty low at times. So there's certain songs that we go pretty low, and I just a regular, Shure 58 or something just doesn't help me out. In there, they have to kind of re-EQ me for just a certain part of a song, and that's not what I need. So I like the Sennheiser E935, and then on the record, it's a Neumann U87. That was we got a choice of like 7 vintage U87, so we just went through and picked the one that sounded the best. What are you playing?
My number one go-to is just a USA Fender Jazz, and I run a Sans amp pedal just to get some crunch. I'm pretty basic. I run a Mark bass Jeff Berlin amp without the tweeter, but I have the expansion cab that gives a little bit more twang as needed. And then I have an Ampeg I picked up recently that I've phasing into things, but I'm pretty straightforward. I have other basses. In the Reach video, it's a Gibson USA non-reverse that is very cool to play, and I think sounds really good. But my main go-to is USA Fender Jazz, and I just pretty simple. It's not as techy as Trent and Al.
That's pretty cool. And I guess, did you always learn to play with your fingers first, or did you mess around with both a pick and fingers?
No, I've picked up the pick occasionally and tried. It's just not my thing. It's just I don't get it. If I want twang or something, I'll kind of grow out the fingernails on my on these two, and then but it's fingers have always been just the right feel for me.
Sounds better.
Yeah.
So we got that piece. That's our thing.
Yeah.
Two fingers, yeah.
It's a tone, real. It's tone. Where does tone come from? I think it comes from the fingers. It's a philosophical debate that will go on and on.
Well, my thoughts on bass playing with picks or fingers. Like when I play bass, I play it with a pick and it sounds terrible. So then I just know that must be the reason.
I want to say it's probably based on speed too, because I know that's how David Ellison from Megadeth, that's how he was rolling. When he first came into Megadeth, he was doing fingers at first, and then as they kept getting faster, I think it was Rust in Peace when he started using the pick, started doing a lot more too. So I think it's based on speed, and that's just really me. But you guys can agree to disagree or whatever on that too. But I guess
it's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, because you can switch pick,
Right.
I don't know. I've never been able to play with my fingers on, so no.
Over the years, I've implemented, Geddy Lee's flamenco. He calls it the flamenco thing, where he just kind of goes back and forth. So it's kind of a pick, but he's still using his finger, and that's where the nail comes into play. So that influenced me over the years to try to duplicate that. So it gives me kind of a pick feel without using a pick.
That's interesting. I was going to say, I thought I heard something on like the documentary about Rush that actually talked about Geddy Lee's picking style too, but I think that's the first time I may have heard about it. So yeah. Good tip. You learn something new every day with these interviews, so that's all good. I guess speaking of Geddy Lee and David Ellison too, I guess, who would you guys consider has been your biggest influence?
Oh, for me, Geddy, hands down.
You mentioned it earlier. Dave Mustaine is a huge influence. My favorite guitarist ever, though, is Slash. By far, that guy can do no wrong. But I've always been a Megadeth fan. I like because Dave Mustaine does the same things I do. He plays guitar, sings, he writes songs, and so at a very young age, I was a big Dave fan, but yeah, it'd probably be to those two. I don't really have a vocalist that I look forward to. I don't, because I can't emulate anybody. So I guess I just don't look forward to that. But yeah, there's a lot of guitar players that I like, and I like them for different reasons. You keep talking about Megadeth. I really didn't start off to be a lead guitar player. I wanted to be a singer from the start, but I just didn't have the voice for it. And it was really mentioned Rust in Peace when on Tornado of Souls, which is just hands down the greatest guitar solo ever recorded. That solo right there was just amazing to me. I mean, I was like, this is wonderful, and I don't know how much we want to go into this, but I read an article not too long before that album came out, and I was young because I started playing guitar around 10, but I read an article about building a solo, like writing a guitar solo, and it mentioned you should never do phrases. You shouldn't have here's this section, here's this section, here's this section. That's and you listen to the greatest guitar solos of all time, they all do it. So how is that a rule? So that's how I write a solo. I will work on this section first, and then I'll work on this section, and they should go together. But your solo doesn't need to be a 17-minute, epic. It needs to fit the song. It needs to carry this, help carry the song, and not distract from the song. And then, if you can figure out how to show off your skills, then so be it.
Yeah, serve the song.
I would say it's funny when we mentioned about Tornado Souls. First off, me and a friend of mine did a drum collaboration on that song too. So make sure I go check out that drum collaboration on my channel. But I always felt like it started off, it was like, here's a little bit of easy. And it just kept getting progressively harder. And then Marty Freeman just goes off, so to speak, too.
But it's like it's got everything. It has the emotion. It has the technical skill. It has that solo, I wish I could make a solo that good, but when I do play a solo or write a solo for one of our songs, I'm like, is this even close to the neighborhood of that caliber? And I'm not skill wise, I'm not anywhere near that guy's skill, but does it display something that the song needed, or were you just filling time? So that's really where I come from.
Who did Martin Friedman team up with? They make that instrumental group, Cacophony.
Oh, Jason Becker. And it's funny you mentioned that because I'm fully dating myself. But when I was 14 years old was when I don't know if that's when the first Cacophony record came out, but that's when they got a big spread in the music. Like I grew up in a small town, like so small that we didn't have MTV. So I had to read about all the bands I liked, and my mom would always go and pick up music magazines for me, and so I could just read about bands. And then she, so I was subscribed to every guitar magazine from an early age on. And I remember there was an article about Cacophony, and I was 14 years old, and Jason Becker was only 17 years old. And so I was like, wow, he could do this. I could do this, But I mean, he was a phenomenal player. But so my mom surprised me with tickets to David Lee Roth because he had just gotten in David Lee Roth and released a record. And I went to that show, and it was that week that they announced that he had Lou Gehrig's disease and was not able to play the show. So I still went to the concert. It was pretty dumb. It wasn't Jason Becker playing, but Jason Becker was a phenomenal player, and he still creates music. So that's he was somebody I definitely read a lot about and listened to those records, and didn't really dig the David Lee Roth stuff, but he's a phenomenal player. Good, like choice of notes kind of guy.
I'll tell you, David Lee Roth had to make his way full circle back into Van Halen just to relive those old glory days he did out of the 70s and 80s. I do remember listening to like a lot of Van Halen, more so with David Lee Roth because my dad had like all the cassette tapes. Just remember dancing, like just going crazy whenever those songs would come on too. So it's good music when you're dancing to it. That's the thing. I guess you guys do a little dancing whenever you feel the music on stage.
No. It's funny. I actually consider myself a rhythmic guy, like, cause I have a drum background but I definitely not when it comes to like full body movement. I just, it wouldn't be graceful.
I'm pretty reserved. I'll occasionally take maybe a step to the left or the right, but I don't get that much into it. I don't make faces and things like that. It's just not my style.
And it's not, I hate to say this because it really puts me in in defensive mode, but it's just, there's nothing metal about dancing. It's just,
would you consider headbanging to be sort of dancing in a way whenever you're waving air?
Yeah, the headbang. That's something that
I think I appropriately move to the groove of the song and try to be.
We don't do any kicks.
True to it.
Yeah, we don't do any kicks or
So you get the tongue sticking out and everything.
There's a jump in the Reach video.
Yeah,
that's about as flamboyant as we get.
Yeah, we move on stage. We're not just statues up there, but I wouldn't call it dancing. Definitely not choreographed.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's probably way much about Gene Simmons too. But so I guess, Mike, do you do any Gene Simmons sort of things from time to time? The old blood, the old tongue thing sticking out.
No, but you mentioned that. I haven't done that. I feel like if I say this now, somebody's gonna make me. But in one of my old bands, I used to do this thing. Like I used to have a guitar solo. Man, I was so lame. I used to have like a guitar solo, like not like part of like where everybody leaves the stage kind of thing. And there was a what I would do is I'd have two jars on my amp, and one was a candle and one was lighter fluid, and I would dip my fret hand in the lighter fluid and then light it with the candle and play with my hand and I burnt many bars carpets, like the club's carpets that way, we dropped it. Yeah.
Needless to say, you were not invited back after that sort of incident.
I know. I don't think I think that was just another thing for them to complain about back then. But they still let us play again because then they had to have more things to complain about. But no, I guess I was a show guy. I mean, I still am, I guess, a little bit. Just if you can show off, it makes the show better, I guess.
Yeah.
Absolutely too.
I do a lot of overhand, underhand when we play.
Do Doing Dragon Force sort of style.
Yeah, I don't know why I do it. I don't know. It's almost like if I know there's a guitar player in the audience, I do it. If I don't know, then I don't. You know, I don't know. It's not a competition. I'm never that way. I don't. But I don't know. There's something about when you're on stage and the adrenaline's pumping and you have a guitar player watching you. It's like, you know, I'm gonna do this really cool fill, but I'm gonna do it overhand underhand.
Let's say you got to show off.
Yeah.
We have fun up there.
Let's say you got to establish your territory, that sort of thing too. If that's what you want to call it. But I will go back to Rest in Peace. I would say I will fight to the death saying Take No Prisoners is their best song from that album. I will say it that.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm one to say that there's not a bad song on that album. That is a perfect album. I am tired of Hangar 18, so I do skip Hangar 18 now. But if I have never had somebody tell me to pick my favorite on there, I would say it's Rust in Peace. I would just, you know, I would, you know, or Lucretia, I guess. I don't know. Wow, that would take me a while to think about. That album is perfect from beginning to end, and it's just you know, when I got that, again, dating my age here, but when I got that album, it was on cassette, and I think I had 6 of them. Like I had to get 6. Like I would wear that out. I would mow lawns and I would just listen to that album just on repeat, just nonstop. I knew every note, everything off that album. It's just what a thrill ride to listen to. So I don't disagree with you today on your favorite song there. I wouldn't fight you on that. I'd have to really put some thought into it if I want to pick my own favorite.
Though I would have to agree that the Polaris, technically Rest in Peace, that's I would say that one has like probably the best breakdown, then kind of a little short solo there. I would say the ending kind of got a little bit annoying because it was just kind of like repeating that whole thing over and over again until it just finally reached the end where Mustaine just built into it. So I would say that's the one downside to it, but other than that, it was still a killer song. So,
right. Yeah, that album is it's just fun to listen to lyrics. It's fun to just zone the lyrics out and listen to the music. You can just pick a different way to listen to that album over and over and over again.
I would say I always turn it up whenever Holy Wars comes on and it gets into that slow. Not the one Marty Friedman. I think it's the Dave, the very long one, kind of near the end of the song right there. So I'd say I always blast that one whenever it comes on. So.
Yeah, that's a great tune.
All right.
That should have been bigger than Holy Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
I see. And all right. So when we were talking back and forth, I know you guys said you wanted to avoid COVID, but I'll rephrase the question here a little bit too. So I guess did COVID kind of help you guys commit more to this music project?
No, I mean it gave us time. You know, if
anything, COVID tried to conspire to make us commit less, and we counteracted that by committing more.
Yeah, you know, it was difficult, like because we had already planned the record before that, so it kind of just stunted some of that. But you know, had COVID not been a thing, we probably would have rushed into it and not made a great thing, and probably never been a band. And so in that regard, yeah, I mean, it put us in a better. It had us slow down and really consider what we're doing.
That's all good. And you guys didn't have any brushes with COVID? You guys were all good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All good.
All right, that's all good. Good to have you guys around here too. I did forget to ask, what drum set does Al play on? Did he ever tell you guys?
Oh yeah, no, he uses it's a Pearl. It's funny. He actually has many drum sets, but the ones he has 3 that he uses live or in the studio, and they're all the same model. When I say it, it's gonna sound lame, but I believe it's a Pearl Vision, but it's their. I can't remember what he said. They made a kit that it was a mid-priced kit at the time, but it actually is a powerhouse kit. I mean, it really is. So he actually he just got rid of his DW like a year ago. This is not like a budget choice. It's really that kit sounds great, and then he has 3 different ones. So when we don't have to set up again for studio and for practice and for shows. He'll bring a different kit for different things. So it's a Pearl, and then he uses Paiste cymbals, and he uses Axis kick drums and kick drum pedals, and and then his mics are brilliant. Again, he's a smart guy, so he has all of his mics internally mounted into the shells, and so which is great because we can that helped out in the studio. I mean, we didn't use they still used other mics in the studio, but that it's just great because they're just, especially for his kick drums. It's important that your kick drums sound the right way when you're using two bass drums, right? So it's just, sometimes you don't want them to sound exactly the same, but they have to sound complementary to each other, or else it just ruins everything. That could be live or in the studio. So he has that dialed in.
Yeah, it's a testimony to Al's technical proficiency and his dedication. Right.
That's very cool to hear. I would have more questions, but I'll digress next time until he comes on here. So, guys, why couldn't he be here today? Was he got family and work to do?
Yeah, he was busy. He was double booked. He didn't want to be triple booked. He's a busy dude.
Keep himself busy. That's good. So keep on rocking, brother, and tell him keep on going, trooper. That's all I like to say. So that's all good. So I guess what sort of challenges have you guys faced recently being indie musicians?
I don't know if it's really so much being indie musicians, but we face challenges of the genre of music that we do. It's tough because we're not metal. I mean, we're not heavy enough for the metal shows. We seem to get on a couple of those, but we're just not metal enough for these shows, especially like a lot of the venues here, the really cool ones will have a Saturday metal day where they start at noon and have bands all the way until 2 a.m. And but we're not heavy enough for that. But we're too heavy for your bar down the street that usually has a country band or a cover band or whatever. We're too heavy for that. So we're kind of unique in that regard, even though I don't think our music's that unique. It's not really out of the box music here. It's just we didn't really reinvent the wheel. But it's definitely difficult for us to find venues that I don't want to say support our music, but where it's where that's what the people going there would know that they're going to hear. So we end up having to very much use social media to attract our audience. It's just not going to happen that we're going to walk in and get an audience built in for us. So in that regard, it's difficult. And then I would say the other challenges is, I've been doing this for a while, and it just seems that the making money from this is becoming less and less of a reality. We have very popular videos on YouTube, and I get the checks from that, but it's not like it was 20 years ago. It's not, I mean, you put more into it than you're getting out at this point in our stage of this. We're a new band. I mean, I don't know we shouldn't be complaining, but
typical labor of love.
Yeah, it's so the challenge is that you have to resource everything yourself, and I guess I sound like I'm whining about that, but if we didn't have to do that, then we could use those resources to help us get more things. We've been talking a lot about getting more representation. Whether it's we just contacted a few agents to help us book shows, but it'd be nice if somebody could just take that off our plate and worry about writing music and playing music. And I would say for me, I don't want to complain about it. I just think that for me specifically, if I could focus more on that stuff, I think we would have more things in front of us, and not, because Mike and I do all the booking for the band, and that's time consuming. I probably spend 30 hours a week doing it. I mean, it's time consuming, talking to people, and then, you know, a lot of these shows, you know, we're originals, so we had to get other bands to play, and submitting forms and all these other things, and then promoting, you know, and I don't mind doing all that. I mean, labor of love is a great way to say it, but it would be nice if we had the resources coming in that we could use to alleviate some of the tedious, you know, work, you know, or just somebody to carry my Al's drum kit in. If we could just knock that off. I don't want to keep carrying. We played a show a couple weeks ago where only where a place apart was like 2 blocks away. You know, my stuff's on wheels, so I was in there in like 4 seconds. But man, carrying that kit in, that was a mess. And then you have to go play, and then you have to go do it again, and you have to tear it down and take it back. I'm just complaining now. I sound like a whiner. I signed up to do this. I made this bad. I gotta lie in it. You know?
We sold our soul for rock and roll. That's our thing.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. You know, you say that. I've had that conversation with so many people in my life about really what's the difference between somebody who plays in a band versus somebody who doesn't. And when I call them normies, right? Like if you're just a normal person, I mean, well, I don't know what you spend your money on. I don't know how these people have any money problems. If you're not in a band, because I mean, think about it, like you have to have a different house. Like you have to have a house like this where you can have band practice in. You know, you have to have a vehicle that you can haul your stuff in. You have to, you know, there's just so much to it. I mean, if I didn't have any of this stuff, I didn't even know what I would buy with my money. I'd probably own like a boat or something. I just don't know what you would. I mean, and if you meet a musician that also has a boat, I mean, that guy has it made, right? Like, I mean, anyway, I don't want a boat. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just, it's a life dedicated thing. You have to that's your life.
Right.
You do this. You're not going to get home until 4 a.m. Because you're going to be playing a show 2 hours away, and that's just the life you chose. And you can't turn back now because you have so much built into it.
And you're fortunate. You got to count yourself fortunate when you're in a band with people that you get along with and can laugh with.
We get along,
and we occasionally get along. No, it's true though, because being in a band, is anybody listening to this who's in a band out there knows that it can get weird at times, but we don't have that issue. That we're fortunate not to have that. So everybody respects where everybody's coming from, the lives we're all leading outside of music, and that goes a long way into longevity of a project and trying to make something that matters and sounds good and everybody is rewarded from on whatever level. So. And
I would just add on to that too, that I think I think that is something that is unique about us, is that I mean, we are a 3-piece, but I think we do very well about positioning our songs, like, you know, choosing moments in songs to highlight different members of the band. I think that goes a long way. You know, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but as a bass player, I mean, you probably shine more in this band than you have in others. You know, I mean, like this gives you, everybody has their kind of moment, and we all get to support that moment. And so we're definitely more of a team, especially compared to other bands I've been in, where everybody's just fighting for the spotlight.
And I think the fact that 3 of us we all come from rock background, but we come from different subgenres of rock. I think are our favorites. You know, I think I'm more of baked in prog kind of guy. You know, Geddy or Chris Squire or whoever, but Trent comes from, the school of Slash, and then Al's more kind of metal oriented. So I think the 3 of us, in a lot of ways, it's an interesting combination here, and I think it shines through in a way that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say that when people, it's always fun to hear what people say we sound like, but sometimes it doesn't go the way you want it, and but I like when people mention you sound like a cross between this band and this band, and I really like when it ends up being a band that I do think that we, I don't want to say stole from, but that we borrow, like the guys we just played with, they were like, you guys sound like a cross between Megadeth and Alice in Chains. And I was like, I mean, I don't hear that, but I mean, that's totally, we take some of those things and
it's interesting to hear people's reactions and what they hear. And, it's kind of like when you say, oh, your kid looks like you, but nobody ever saw that. They see the other parent or something, but it's interesting what people see and hear. Pretty neat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I guess, how's the music scene actually been in Minneapolis and St. Paul? Has it really been growing recently?
Oh yeah, you couldn't be in a better place than Minneapolis to be a rock or metal band, any band. You know what? This community is so supportive of especially musicians to musicians, right? Like there's not a lot of rival bands. The bands around here really support each other. Like, it doesn't even matter what kind of music they play, they'll still support you. Everybody likes each other's pages and likes each other's posts and gives you mentions. And I mean, I can't tell you how many shows I've been to where the music, the singer mentions another band that's going to be playing there the following week or even another show completely. And everybody's super supportive. We have been very lucky to play alongside a lot of really amazing musicians, but they're also really amazing people. Like they're just going to help you out, and it's you're not just an amazing person to me if you help us out, but I see that they're sincere and that's just what they want to do, and it really makes you want to step out of your way and help another band as well.
People are very into the symbiosis of, rising tide raises all bands, I suppose. So it's a good vibe out here for sure.
That's for sure. I know I was actually interviewing a studio manager from one of the studios in around my neck of the woods, and he was talking about how music scene was rising in the Pittsburgh region too. So I was curious how it was rising like all other cities too, because most of the times you hear about Nashville and LA for the obvious reasons too, since that seemed to be birthplace like country music and then some of the rap scene in general. So it's always cool when you see like how it's really expanding into like other cities too. So I guess, is there a renowned studio? I guess you were talking about that earlier. Does he reside in Minneapolis?
A renowned? Well, I mean, Paisley Park's here. Pachyderm is just not too far from here. I mean, those are probably the two biggest ones. I mean, there's some, I guess Minnesota is really known for, there's not a lot of metal that Minnesota's known for, but, when you go into a lot of these studios, I mean, there's a lot of music, so very nice and professional music studios in town here that, when you look at their discography, it's pretty impressive. I mean, there's, the first place we were going to go to, I don't want to plug them, but, because they never got our music back to us. But I mean, you walked in and it was like Janet Jackson and the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack and they did all of these things and you're like, wow, this is big time, but Paisley Park, as far as what's renowned, I would say Paisley Park and Pachyderm are the world famous ones, But I wouldn't put down anybody else. I mean, I would, despite all of that. I mean, I guess I've always wanted to record at Pachyderm, but because I just like the sound that they make. Every album that comes out of there sounds different, but they all have that quality to it. But I would definitely, first go to Todd, at Winterland, and see what he's up to.
That's pretty good. And I guess, what sort of advice would you give to other musicians? I guess, are you part of the Band Together community?
Yeah, as far as advice, I don't know. I mean, I would say this, like, if just know, like we just mentioned, help other bands out. I mean, you don't have to pay for anything or lift a finger here. Just don't fight against it and just be a team player. And I guess to define that is like, if there's 2 or 3 bands on the bill or however many, and if it's not just you on the bill, you got to do your part and promote. You just got to, so I don't want to go in the negative. I don't like to be negative, but I mean, if you're, it's just not, it's quite obvious when we're on a bill of 3 or 4 other bands, and it's quite obvious which one didn't promote, and it always seems to be that somebody will ask, like, hey, how many people do you think are coming? And when you hear a band say, could be 0, it could be 20, then you don't, I just know you didn't really do anything. So my advice is, you gotta play along, and if you're a support act for a band, be a support act. You gotta be cool. If you get told to play 40 minutes, play 40 minutes. That if you go 60 minutes and the band that booked you that show is going to go on, is not going to get to play their whole set because the bar is going to close at that, and that's just not cool. And again, I feel like I'm negative. I don't know why advice has to be negative, but
there's advice for different levels of musicians. If you're a budding musician or just starting out or thinking about picking it up, I'd say practice, 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 practice. And if you've been playing a while and you're in a band, I would say respect the scene, serve the song, and show up for the gigs and try to promote, and don't cancel too much. And,
ooh, that's a great one. That's actually, what, if we want to help ourselves here, if we want to be self-serving to us here, keep canceling shows, because we keep getting shows that way.
There's some of that going on.
Nah, I'll tell you that's actually been a very common thing lately, is where bands, okay, it doesn't matter what level of band you're at. I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to give you this advice from the perspective of these clubs. So if you're a band that just keeps putting your name out there for every time a club's asking for groups, to play their shows, and every time a band's saying, hey, we need an opener, and you're just putting your name out there, but then when you get a better show, you're canceling at the last second. Like in Minneapolis here, they don't blacklist you because we're cool. That's the Minnesota way of doing things. We're just gonna be nice about it. But I tell you that it really looks bad from the club perspective. When we were playing a show about a month and a half ago, where it wasn't even the person booking the shows. It was just one of the people that working at one of the managers at the bar, and he was like, I'm so glad you guys showed up. It's 6 weeks in a row of at least one band not showing up. And he told me, he's like, we're not dumb here. We can just look at that band's, social media, and they see that they're playing another show. Right. It's disrespectful. And if you couldn't play it, then don't say you can play it, and I don't know. I'm not trying to lecture anybody. Do what you want, but it's helping us. Yeah, it's been helping us.
Just to answer the question.
Yeah, we look pro. We're the kind of guy. We're the nerds. We'll show up on time. We'll start
be on time.
Yeah, we'll start on time. We'll get our stuff off the stage if there's a band after us. We'll keep our stuff off the stage until we play. Okay, that's gonna be my last negative thing. If you are playing a show, let's say there's 3 bands, and you play, you're not playing first. Leave your stuff in your car, or in your truck, or your trailer, whatever. Like, leave your stuff outside. It's not, I don't even want to say it's been our shows. I watch a lot of videos. If I'm not playing on a Saturday night, there's like 8 streams that I'll watch locally here of different, because there's a few clubs here that will stream the show. And it breaks my heart when a band is trying their best to perform on stage and have a great show, and then there's like 3 guitar amps and a bass amp stacked in front of the stage for the next band that's going to go on. Like, man, have it be picture perfect for everybody. I don't know. I'll get off my soapbox. We're not good enough to command other people to do anything. We're just, if somebody asked my opinion, that's what I'd say.
Sure. Just a certain level of respect and try to maintain.
Well, say, Trent, you start off with Mr. Brightside, and then I'll say turn Mr. Negative.
I know. That's not what I wanted. And I like helping bands. I just helped. I'm not gonna pat myself on the back. I like to help people out, and if you but also we like to keep our mouths shut and just go and play the show. So we're not as vocal about this as we are in this interview, in real life.
We haven't got to that point yet, or at least haven't reached that level of intensity yet where you'll be yelling, that sort of thing too. Feel like I was trying to compare it to something too, but we don't want to get political at this point, so let's avoid getting political. So, Yeah, that's all good. But I guess we have 2 more questions, and we'll get into some fun ones afterwards too. But I guess what's your goals and plans for the rest of this year in 2024?
Oh, the rest of this year, we're totally booked for the rest of this year, pretty much. I don't know if we can fit another show, but yeah, we got a lot of shows coming up. We're gonna announce them pretty quick. So we got a lot of shows coming up, and then 2024, I hope to record and release our next record. And so we're just finishing up funding for that, and yeah, that's what my plan is. And then I mean, because we got all this video equipment, we have to make more videos, right? So we might as well put out another album so we have more songs to make videos of. But yeah, that's my that's my goal.
Yeah, well, it would be very, very cool to record again. Some more songs.
So you did one in like a brewery. That was Control, right? You did that one shot in a brewery.
That was at Badger Hill Brewery, their old location. They've moved now, but yeah, thank you again to Michael Koppelman for helping us out there.
Yeah, again, like that's you want to talk about how cool the music scene is here. We can walk into a bar that a brewery that a well-known brewery, and they make the Grey Duck brand. If you're familiar with it, but we like, hey, can we shoot a video in here? And they're like, ooh, that's gonna be tough because we brew things in here, and like there has to be like FDA regulations and things like that. And I'm like, oh,
sure.
And they're like, no, you can do it. We just have to figure out how we're gonna do it. It was never a no, and so yeah, that's cool. Like and they that was a fun deal. But yes, that was Badger Hill Brewery in Shakopee, Minnesota.
Yep.
Oh, cool dudes. I guess where'd they move their location to?
They're over by Canterbury Racetrack now. They moved just down the road, but into a new facility. But they're still brewing great beer, and they were it was very cool for Michael to allow us to come in there at the time and film that. We had a lot of fun. It was hot though, yeah. Hot summer day.
I was like, I see the sweat just profusing down faces.
Because a brewery's hot anyways, and then it was hot. So in between, like when we weren't shooting, I went into the freezer, because it was so hot. I mean, I was just dying. Like I mentioned earlier, I get hot just like 10 degrees sooner than somebody else, and so I remember somebody was like, man, that was a cool effect where it looked like you were sweating. No, I was dying. I think somebody mentioned, who was it that mentioned that, like, there's that shot where it looks like you're just, you have this look in your eyes of just intensity. I'm like, that was seconds from death is what it was. That was me trying to ask for help with my eyes.
Yeah, that was a hot day. And we also need to mention is Landon Rodemeyer for being the MVP behind the scenes production guy for that.
He's my favorite person in the world.
He was very cool. So shout out to Michael Koppelman and Landon Rodemeyer.
I would adopt Landon to be my child. He is
careful what you wish.
He's my favorite.
That's all good to hear. I was gonna say I know you said Face of Death, so I was like, God, please help me. That's the right thing too.
Yeah.
That's the right thing.
Yeah, it was it was too hot, and then and that was but it was still good. It was still a good experience, and I didn't know this until you brought this up the other day. Is that okay? So the brewery is like the bar is attached to the brewery, and you noticed that there was because people in the bar that were there. I mean, we just did this during open hours, right? There's people standing in the doorway in the video. I never noticed it. Like people are watching us, just drinking their the Patriot, was that their beer? The Patriot. They're just drinking their
Trade. Yeah. Oh yeah, there was Patriot.
The Trader. Yeah, they're drinking their Traders out of their growlers, just slinging them back, watching a bunch of fools shoot a video, but yeah, that was a good experience.
Badger Hill Brewery, go there, drink their beer.
I guess when you're doing music videos, are you actually playing the music too, or are you just kind of giving around?
Yes.
Yeah, we can't.
It makes it more authentic. I think.
Yeah, we can't do it. We can't do it the other way. So I guess here I'll give away the magic of the music here. What we've learned is if we can have a monitor for Albert to play the song so that it's going to sync, right? So he's playing to our song, but we're playing to him, and then we just play the song. And that's how we managed to do that. I can't do the pantomiming thing. Like that we started to do that at Hill. It just didn't work.
No, we are playing.
Yeah, they set up a PA system for us, and they were just pumping the music, and we were just have like nothing on and just play along. And I couldn't. It wouldn't have looked right. I would have looked as just like this. I would have been like, this is dumb, and that's the way the video would have looked. So.
I'll say for music videos I have seen in the past, I was always curious, because you're always seeing mostly jumping around and doing that sort of thing too. I'm thinking are they actually playing the music, or are they just filling it in just to kind of add for effect, that sort of thing too. So that's pretty interesting. And I didn't know about the monitor either, so that's interesting.
Yeah, Albert has the hair to hide his. He had his in-ears and he's listening, so he's listening to the music. And
yeah, I think it matters, and I think you can see it and feel it kind of when you're listening and watching it. So.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I guess, Trent, what sort of picks do you use? And Mike, if you ever use any picks, which ones do you technically use?
Oh, I use I guess I've always used the same picks. Right now I'm using our own picks from Intune. If you guys want to make your own picks, go to Intune.com. I think it's IntuneGP.com. But guitar picks, IntuneGP.com. But they're kind of like a Tortex, like a Dunlop Tortex, 0.88 millimeter. But they're, the real term of that is Delrin. They're made of Delrin. The same stuff that Unbreakable combs are made out of. I've actually never used another pick. When I started doing all of this in 1987, I went to a music store and bought a pick first. That was my first thing I bought, and I picked that because it was green. And then that's just where I've been since.
Yeah, if I'm the only time I use a pick is when I'm strumming on an acoustic guitar or something, just looking for a chord or something. But otherwise, I use Mike's fingernails. That's it.
I'd say, do you guys sometimes switch whenever you're recording your music? Kind of like trying to sometimes do bass lines and then vice versa?
No, we don't want me playing bass on anything.
Yeah, and I'm not a guitar player.
Yeah, no, I would never. Oh my gosh, I like our music far too much to let me play bass on anything. I mean, when I do demo stuff, I'll play bass just so you can hear what it sounds like. But I don't even think that I don't expect Mike to cop that bass line. No, I'm not that. I let the bass magic stay with Magic Mike.
The Magic Man, sort of thing. It was interesting, too, because I actually saw a video with Rex Brown. He was laying down some of the chords they did on the song Cowboys from Hell during the solo section with Dime. And he was doing the rhythm section, kind of like how it was all going down. I think, I've always known him as the bass player, but I never knew he could do guitar as well. So I guess sometimes guitar players also know how to do bass as well as vice versa.
Well, and also, there's a very, very small list of people who started out on guitar that went to bass that didn't end up being a bass player, a guitar player playing bass, right? That's what I am. When I play bass guitar, I'm just a guitar player playing bass. I'm just playing what I would have played on guitar, just knocked it down on one string, right? So it's not I don't necessarily understand bass as well as a bass player does, and I think that you same would go the other way, right? So yeah, I just don't. Well, you hear guys do it. I mean, you see that all the time. I mean, especially in the early '90s, you actually saw a lot of bands, famous bands, where the singer started out playing bass, but then they got a bass player and switched. It's whatever it is.
Sure.
But
certain musicians can do it, and they can do it competently, and they can do it very well. Steven Wilson, for example. But yeah, there are. I suppose there are occasionally you do see that there just are boundaries, and they're very different instruments, and they have a different mentality. You have to kind of have a different mentality to play. You got to sync up. The bass is the bridge between the drummer and the guitarist, so you have to fulfill that role, and And if it's playing the same note for quite a while, you have to do that if it's serving the song. And I tend to get maybe a little bit more. I'm a bit overactive at times, but it gets my rocks off, and it gives me energy, and it makes me feel good. But again, you have to serve the songs. So it's mentality.
So I don't think I definitely don't think anybody has even asked to play anybody else's instruments or that's ever been a thing. But I'll say what I do like about this band is that I like that we can all communicate like vocally about what we think that a part should be, and we all understand it. Like how to like my example would be like, if I told Albert that he should try to go like he knows what I mean. It's not just gibberish to him, and he can do the same to me. And we just like speak the language of like reading, hearing what they intend in their head vocally. But I like that we all are at least musically capable enough to offer advice or offer suggestion.
Sure. Or a request.
And so we touch the mind of the universe whenever we start trying to like, I was to say like certain notes or certain patterns, for instance, too. So you touch the language of creation at that point too. So that's all good. All right. So I guess we should go ahead and jump into the fun questions. Then we got one more question after these ones. So guys ready?
Yeah,
sure.
All right. So let's start with the first one. What are your favorite movies?
Oh, we don't have enough time for this.
If you just want to pick one, I guess which one like stands out the most?
Okay, I'm gonna go with any Planet of the Apes movie, like the original 5, and Wet Hot American Summer is in there. And then sorry, I'm gonna just take all the time up. The Black Hole is Black Hole is probably my favorite movie, and then Planet of the Apes, then Wet Hot American Summer.
That's a tough one. I don't know. Comedy, it depends on the genre.
Yeah.
Comedy, Caddyshack, or Animal House, I suppose, are the biggies for me.
Drama, it was Air Bud, right? Where the dog can play basketball. Isn't that Air Bud? Mike's an intellectual.
Drama, I don't know. Maybe The Godfather. I grew up in an Italian household back in New York, so probably Godfather.
Okay, Mikey.
1 and 2.
1 and 2. Yeah, no one can say I loved the 3. That's the thing. It's an odd thing, but I can see why. So that's all good. When you say Planet of the Apes, so you talk about the newer ones that came out, or you talk about the original ones that came out?
The original ones, absolutely no, just the original ones. And I'll even expand. My favorite is the 5th one, Battle of the Planet of the Apes. Love that movie. I could watch it every day for the rest of my life. I love it. Roddy McDowell is my absolute favorite actor. He was also in The Black Hole. He was,
Legend.
Yeah. Just my absolute favorite. So I could watch those movies. Except for the 3rd one, I could watch the other 4 nonstop on repeat all day. It's just where I want to live. I want to live on the Planet of the Apes.
Actually, what was the one? Was it Mark Wahlberg who was in one they tried to do it?
That one's by far the most terrible one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that where all the apes look like the female ape look like Michael Jackson, like after surgery Michale Jackson with the peak nose and stuff. No, that movie's terrible. It ruined the whole. And that was Tim Burton. I mean, that was when Tim Burton just lost his magic, because that movie is just bad and it ruins the whole thought of the original series. I could talk about this all day. I love Planet of the Apes.
I thought they only did one original one. I thought that was just Planet of the Apes, and then I thought the ones they were doing recently just expanded on it really.
Oh no. There's so much more to it. There was a TV series that is it's actually the 70s Planet of the Apes TV series is far better than the movies. I love it. No, you should go back and watch all of them. I mean, The third one is a little silly. They disco dance, but it's great. It's a wonderful story. And the makeup is amazing. The music is amazing. Those drums, like those the bongo drums that come in, like and that's when like the suspense is amazing. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that the original story was modified by Rod Serling for from the Twilight Zone to make it into the movie with Charlton Heston, and it was, you can just, when knowing that, you watch it differently, and you see the suspense, and you see there's the tricks, right? I mean, I can talk about that movie all day. It's such a perfect movie, and then but even though the original is iconic, the fifth one, Battle for Planet of the Apes, is my favorite. It's my favorite.
I would say for the third one, I guess that explains why they wanted to kill Disco afterwards. So, all right, that's all good. And for the next one, what are your favorite foods?
For me, it's a ribeye steak.
Tacos. Just eat tacos, burritos every day. So yeah, I like spicy food. Keeps things interesting. Tacos. I had tacos today.
I was say, when you were talking about Doritos earlier, do you like the shell that's the Cool Ranch or the regular Dorito?
Oh man, Doritos. So you know what? I'm just gonna lose any type of momentum we've had with this conversation with people. I'm very strict on my Doritos here. I only believe that the original two should be in existence. Right, so just nacho cheese and Cool Ranch, like that's it. Everything else is just nonsense. It's a waste of time. Why are you picking a substandard? Like what a joke. Like I don't need there was no need for that. It was just it was.
I was gonna say they actually came out with a different flavor. I thought they just always stuck with the two.
Oh no, they're like, and I love tacos, but the taco flavored Doritos are just terrible. The spicier nachos, no, just you just want the original. Actually, I eat a lot of Doritos. It's embarrassingly the amount of Doritos that I eat, because we do the taco in the bag thing, right? Where you get like the mid-sized bag and then cut it in half, and then you put taco stuff in each one, and that's your meal for the night. Right, so that's probably a 3-night-a-week meal over here.
That's it. Don't come between this man and his Doritos. That much for sure. All right, that's so good. And what are your favorite drinks, non-alcoholic and alcoholic? I don't know if you guys drink at all.
Mike's more of the alcohol connoisseur.
So I like craft beer. I'm a big craft beer guy, and I like my favorite beer, and it just came out. I just found it. It's seasonal out here. It's from Bent Paddle, and it's called Snowmaker, and it's a pale ale, and it's the perfect balance for me between hops and malts. It's just amazingly good to my palate, and I like it a lot. And non-alcoholic, I don't do sugared drinks or anything, but I just sparkling ice, kiwi strawberries, my jam lately. But craft beer and that Paddle's very good. And the local breweries around here, Boathouse Brothers, and Badger, and Fulton Brewery downtown, very good stuff. So a lot of great craft breweries around here, and I could go on and on.
I'm the cheap beer guy, so Coors Light, Golden Light. I'm just happy. That's just fine. Grain Belt, if you're local beer.
Let me also mention 9 Mile Brewery here in Bloomington just opened up, and they have very, very good beer. So cheers to 9 Mile as well. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I've never. My relationship with beer is just so quick that I don't really care. I'd rather just save a buck, So I don't really seek out the craft beer, but But that being said, it seems like every time we go to a brewery, I find something I like. That's not the problem. But if I'm at home, it's a Michelob Golden Light, Coors Light, Greenbelt, Rolling Rock, something cheap, and then And then non-alcoholic, I do the Dew. So that's where I'm at. And that, you know what, we can expand on the Doritos thing. I'm the same way about Mountain Dew. You know, there's like 40 flavors of Mountain Dew now. Why? Like it was already done well the first time. Why do we need more? Just be happy that they figured it out the first time.
I would say Baja Blast. I think it was a good one. I would say Baja Blast was a good one.
Oh, I want to do I keep seeing those trucks of the alcoholic Mountain Dew, and we just played a place that had it, and but we didn't have time. So, but I do want to try that, because if they make alcoholic Mountain Dew, then I might not have I might have the rest of my year planned out.
There's a connection with Mountain Dew and bourbon. I think there's some kind of a relationship there. It's original origin. I'd have to go to the wiki on that. But
I just like the caffeine, you know. I believe that caffeine has a negative effect on me. I'm really a hyper person, and this just keeps me on the level. It brings me down the 3 notches I need to just socialize with people at a regular basis, you know, regular speed. And
Does it seem like jumping like a Mexican jumping bean all over the place?
Yeah, I don't like to sit still. That's not what I do. I'm just like to be active. Always have 40 things going on, and like I said, caffeine I think just keeps me. You see, like there's that caffeine speed that people have, and I think that's what it brings me down to. Like, I don't drink coffee, so this is my coffee.
oh, I drink coffee. Coffee is God.
I'm gonna say, like, are you sure you want to tour? Because if you're doing it on a bus tour, for instance, I'm curious how Trent's gonna be able to stand still, to be honest, or sit down for about 8-hour rides.
Oh yeah, I would be jumping jacks in the back. No, I've toured before, and the key to touring, by the way, for those of you who've never done it and that's what you aspire to do, is don't sleep at all, so that you will fall asleep in the truck, right? Like, that's just like, because if you slept pretty well last night and now you want to sleep to kill time, you'll never fall asleep. Those bumps and the you know, everything will just keep you awake. But if you haven't slept in 2 days, you're gonna sleep pretty good in that, you know, no matter what's going on traffic wise or on the road, you know. And my other piece of advice is don't eat food from a gas station, right? That a long time ago we had a bout, not this band but another band. I had a bout with everybody got hot dogs from a gas station in the middle of nowhere at 4 a.m. and then we had to find another gas station at 5 a.m. for everybody to rid of it.
I'll say even from Sheets too. How about Sheets? Food was at least decent.
It's probably a good idea, even if you're not touring.
Yeah, you know,
especially gas station sushi.
Anything that's on a roller, keeping it hot, has probably been there longer than you think, you know.
Fair enough. All right, that's all good. And for the last of the fun questions, what are currently your favorite songs? You just want to pick one, because I'm sure you probably got the whole list, to be honest, so you have to look up on Spotify.
You know what? I got one. Currently my favorite song is Undead Nightmare by Blue Ruin. If you haven't heard them, they're one of the most fun bands ever to listen to. But that song, that just puts them on another level. So it's called Undead Nightmare by Blue Ruin.
You know, the song I've been listening to that's my favorite right now is by Casey Musgraves. It's called Justified. I heard it the other day on The Current, and I've been spinning it quite a bit. It's a very cool tune. Unusual choice for me. Normally I would say, you know, Hemispheres or something, or La Via Strangiato, but right now it's this Musgraves song, Justified. I like it a lot.
That's pretty cool. And all good choices there, mates. So I forgot to ask, what inspires your lyrical content? Do you guys base it on real life events, or you just try to do whatever comes to mind?
Oh, you know, when it comes to lyrics, you know, I guess talking about movies and things like that, that's where I come up with this stuff. Like I started doing this actually in my teens, where friends and I would watch a movie, and then we would talk about what if this would have happened instead in the movie, and then that's what I started writing songs about. And just to dive into it a little bit, there's a movie that I've written more songs based on this one movie, and I'm not stealing lines from the movie, or in that some of them are so loosely based on it that it's hard to have any recognition of it anymore. But there's one movie that I think 5 songs came from, and it's funny because I've been trying to find this movie so that Albert can watch it because he wants to see it. It's called it was in the early '90s movie called Body Parts, and it was about this guy who gets in a car accident and he gets his arms ripped off, and they do experimental surgery at the time, in the early '90s. It's pretty commonplace now, but they reattach somebody else's arms, like a donor's arms, but the donor was a convicted murderer who just was sentenced to death, and anyway, they put his arms on there, and his arms keep taking over and killing people, and so that's I base a lot of our music on that, just like
multiple Academy Award winners.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good movie called Body Parts. I loved it, and it was but yeah, there's a lot of movies. So like that, just I guess thinking of what else could happen, or another scene, or sometimes it's just me talking to somebody else and talking about a movie and that we're getting passionate about, and then somebody said, what if they would have done this in the movie instead? And that's typically like where these little scenes come from. So our lyrics are rarely ever like a full story arc. They're just a moment, right? So I don't pretend to be some poet or artist or anything. I just like to, usually it comes just from one line, like one thing that somebody said, or I said, or somebody said it was in a movie, and it just comes from a line, and you just expand on it. And sometimes, like I said, it's not even recognizable where it came from by the time you're done with it, but that's where it started.
Sorry about Mike was going to say something there.
No, well, I was going to say more advice if you're, a musician and, you do think of something, have a notebook with you and write it down, or send an email to yourself so you remember the line, things like that.
Yeah, my phone.
Because you'll forget.
If you look through my phone at my notes, I have lyrics. I mean, there must be. I just saw it. It was. I mean, there was a good 100 songs on there. I mean, I just some of them will never be done, but I'll come up with a lyric and I'll say this too. I had never done this before, but this summer I actually was traveling quite a bit, and I was at the airport. And every time they would play a song on over the overhead, I never really listened to that music because it's not my jam. But I was actually stealing lyric lines. Like if I liked a thing that they said, in a song, I would just take down that lyric. So I have another note section on my phone of just lyric lines, and it'll be great, especially if I don't remember what song they came from. So I don't remember the melody or anything. I'm just taking that the lyric content. From elevator music, and put just saving it for later. What if you need a good rhyme, or you need a something? Most of them were something that I found profound, at least at that moment. So I started doing that at every airport throughout the summer, and so I have about I'm probably 50 lines of that I just loaned from other songs.
It could be the elevator song, that sort of thing, whenever you wanted to put it together or something like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be obvious. You're not gonna hear us scream out "Girl from Ipanema" or Ipanema.
No, you'll get straight immediately.
No, nothing like that. It's just just little phrases, just like a one line from a song that I just that's pretty smart. That was a pretty clever thing to say, or something that I could see fit into one of our songs, or something. But that's what really lyrically, like I said, I don't. When I first started writing songs, I really got myself kind of stuck, and that was I was in my early teens, probably even 12 years old. I was starting to write songs, and I would always write beginning and end, and it was it had to be a story. And I really appreciate, songwriters that can do that. I just couldn't keep doing that. And you'll hear some of that in, songs from our album. I mean, some of those songs I started working on at a young age, and they all seem to start with something like late at night, like that's your first line. I mean, I really have tried to get away from that it has, like, I don't have to set up the scene. This is not a movie. It's a song, and we can just jump right into the action, whenever you want. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to introduce the characters. We don't have to set up the background or where we're at, and time and place. Like, we don't need to do that. We can just jump right into the song. I mean, think about some of your favorite songs ever. It probably didn't start with chapter 1. This is what we're doing. So I don't really necessarily choose to come from a certain place lyrically. I just like to kind of, I start with the chorus. I start with a big chorus. I find it very difficult to write otherwise, but I have been doing that lately. I've been writing the verses first and trying to get to the chorus, but the song seems to pan out better and quicker if I start with the chorus, then work the way around it, fill in the rest.
That was good. I wish you all the best luck on your journeys going forward there too. So, Trent and Mike, we're down to the last question right here. Before we jump into it, did you guys have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
What was your favorite movie?
Mine jumped around a little bit too, because funny enough, I got to the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds, and I watched that for a good time. Then I also liked Cloverfield at a time as well.
Oh my gosh, Cloverfield is great. Both those are great.
Great choices.
And I could talk about movies forever. That's just really I'm passionate about it, and I love. I'll tell you, my favorite thing about movies is that I can watch them whenever I want. It's not like I'm one of those people that will watch a movie all the way through, but I can if I'm at somewhere and I have to wait 20 minutes, I'll start a movie and I'll just keep, I might take me a week to watch the rest of the movie, but I'll just keep watching. I just like movies. I just like that they're always there. But Tom Cruise's War of the Worlds is actually a very good movie, except for that little girl. She's not a very good actor.
Dakota Fanning, yeah.
Oh, Fanning. Yeah.
But but the rest of that movie, that's
tedious.
Yeah, that's a good movie. It was and I'm a huge fan of War of the Worlds. So that movie, I went into it thinking I was going to hate it. Seeing who was going to be in it and seeing that it was a remake of a remake. I didn't go into that with good, thinking it was going to be good, and I was impressed. So
Cruise almost never disappoints. So.
And then Cloverfield, those are just smart movies, fun movies, fun to watch, good time.
And I would just say thanks for having us and having this cool discussion. It's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
No worries. I guess you guys don't have any more questions. Let's go jump into the final one.
Sure.
Go ahead.
All right. So for the last question right here, I know you might have harped on it a little bit too, but this question here, given what COVID has done, and as well as people trying to get back to some sort of normalcy, I guess what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians and people out there as we try to move forward in a post-COVID world?
As things have opened up and stuff, you just try to find those opportunities to get, there was nothing good about COVID, right? But there was some side effect benefits from the reactions that how many people got to make a podcast or go into something where they get to create or speak their mind during that time when things were shut down. So it really, it helped people who had a voice or had something to say or had something to share, really be able to take the time and do it. So now that things are being opening back up, look for more opportunities to do the same thing. It shouldn't take a global pandemic for you to get creative, right? That should just be, as a musician or as a creator myself, I think that it's very important that I have an avenue to create, right? So I very much love that I have friends that I can play music with and create music with, or else it would just be it'd be wasted. And I don't mean wait like that. My music is so important that it needs to be shared throughout the world. I'm just saying that'd be wasted to myself. It would be something that, you know, I just wouldn't. You know, some people have their thing that they do, their thing that's their maybe I don't know if I like the word release, but the thing that keeps them going throughout the day. But yeah, I guess back to it is, you know, during the pandemic when things were shut down, people were isolated. A lot of really cool content came out of that, and you know. So I guess the ray of sunshine is that you can do that. Everybody, you guys have that ability. So don't wait until a global pandemic happens to have that, you know, to be your moment to shine and share.
Sorry about Mike was going to cue in on something there too. So it's all good.
I'm going to refrain. It's in the end, it was where we don't want to go, which is political, and I just want to refrain from commenting on COVID.
That's fine, yeah. That's all good. You spoke like a bunch of true prodigies, that's for sure. So that's all good. So Trent and Mike, we reached the end of my podcast right here, and we've talked to actually a little over an hour and 30 minutes right now. Time really flies. So
yeah,
no, it's been enjoyable.
It's like half of it was about Planet of the Apes. So
some of it, yeah. So
and trumpet lips over here.
Yeah. Yeah, that sort of thing too. All right, that's all good. Did you guys have any final words or any shouts you want to give before we close?
No, we wish Al was here, but if you you know what, for people listening, please check out our music. You know, we spent a lot of time on it, and we just think that there's something in there for everybody. We don't believe that we're a variety band or anything like that, but I think that there's something that you can latch onto with our music. Watch our videos, you know, check us out, and we have more music coming. Right, you know, that was just episode 1. We have episode 2 coming out. You know, we're working on it right now, and we're gonna go into the studio in 2024 and release it at some point. And so there's just more music to come from, and we have a ton of songs just waiting to release. So just gotta, you know, take the time and take a break from shows and get into the studio and put them on tape.
Yeah. And if you're local to the Twin Cities listening to this, come on out and see us. Have a beer and.
Yeah, I think we have 7 shows. I think we have 7 shows to announce here in a second. You know, in the next couple of days. So you know, over the next 3 months. So we're always busy and we're always doing something. And if you're a local and you're in a band, you know, let's hook up and play some shows together and help each other out.
Absolutely.
I guess you guys strictly on Facebook and YouTube, or what other social media are you guys on so people can reach out to you guys?
Yeah, you know, we just started getting an Instagram. I made us a TikTok, but I haven't posted it on there yet. We have a Twitter, but YouTube is really the best avenue for us just because we're more visual. But obviously, you know, music is everywhere. Music is going to be on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, whatever you want to listen to it on. We're there. So the music's everywhere. So usually when people ask me where to start is I send them to our website, which is destroytheplanet.net. And that is the big hub of it's going to bring you to wherever you want to go to look at our socials and look at our content.
All right, sounds good. So everyone, my guests today were Trent Dutcher and Mike Fiato, the guitarist and bassist of the band Destroy the Planet, as well as Trent being the vocalist too. And these guys are going to do some wonders out in the world. If they're in your local neck of the woods, whatever bar it may be, make sure you go hit them up, go check them out. Everyone else, go hit them up on the socials, subscribe to their channels and everything too. So, Trent and Mike, thank you so much again for coming on. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Rock on. Stay tuned, y'all.